Well, I did bring my laptop with me, and I have downloaded the slides to be able to, put up a few slides to support my presentation. But it's just a lot easier to sort of speak from my notes than have the slides. So I've tried to pick up a couple of themes that I feel have really resonated with me at this meeting. I've really appreciated coming for the day. When I come to conferences and events like this, I want to learn, I want to meet new people, and I want to leave the meeting with some very specific actions that I'm going to take. And so my little wrap up here is kind of around some very specific things that got me really thinking and that I can take advantage of from the perspective of the business that I run, my day job, running the Stanfords retail and wholesale map and charting business. We sell paper products and we sell digital products, so we're a bit of both. And also my not day job, my evening job, my weekend job as president of the International Map Industry Association. And this is a membership organization that has about 80 members who are all somehow involved in the business of mapping. So just my perspective on what I've taken away from this meeting and what I can take specific actions on. I think the first of the three things I'm going to talk about is engaging young people in geography and mapping. And I'm very specific in talking about mapping as opposed to geodata visualization, because that, I think, talking about maps meets the 5-year-old test. And I'm not sure that geodata visualization is something that most 5-year-olds are really going to resonate to. So I want to walk out of this and think about ways that I can engage more young people in geography and mapping. The first one is internships, and Stanfords is bombarded every year by young people wanting to come and do an internship with us. So we've taken on 2 year 10 students for a week in July. They're in schools that require them to go and get some sort of work experience for a week in July. So one of them will work in the shop and the other one will work in the office, and we've already mapped out what they're going to do. But all of you, any of you who have the opportunity to take on interns, they could be young people, probably not as young as primary school, that's probably a bit tricky, but, once they're in secondary school, and certainly university students, it really is something that you can do. It takes a little bit of effort, but once you have things up and running, it's quite easy to do, and the benefit to these young people of learning about geography and mapping and what you do is huge. The second thing that I'm going to try and do is organise more holiday events for young people. There's a lot of young people in the Covent Garden area, surprisingly large number for central London, who don't have that much to do in the summer holidays. We're really lucky that right opposite us, Guinness have opened this massive thing called the Gogable Guinness Open Gate Brewery London, and it's got these huge event space, and as part of the planning consent that Westminster gave them to open this thing, they have to make that space open for a certain number of hours during the year for community events, which basically means someone like Stanfords can organise something either 100% free, because to the attendees, because we're not going to have to pay for the space, or a mixture of we sell some tickets and then we give away half of them to the local community. So what can we do in terms of activities that introduce young people to geography and mapping in the summer holidays? Tours of Covent Garden. I personally love giving people tours of Covent Garden. I do them all the time. I'm probably mad, but it's really fun. There's lots of little secret places for people to see. And an essential part of every tour, at the beginning of the tour, everybody gets a map. So they know where we're going and they have to follow along. And that's particularly important for these young people that we can involve. Engaging young people in the products that we sell is really important to help them understand geography and mapping. We just last week had our Stanfords Awards for travel writing, and the winner of the Travel Book of the Year award is a fantastic book by Sophie Roberts called A Training School for Elephants. And it's about this mad story for King Leopold III of Belgium, when Belgium had Belgian Congo. King Leopold basically wanted to sort of pillage all the natural resources from the Belgian Congo. So he had this crazy idea of getting a nutty Irish adventurer to go to India and get 4 trained Indian elephants and bring them to Africa, march them halfway across the continent, and they were going to set up a training school for African elephants, and the Indian elephants were going to make this happen. Well, I mean, it was madness. The poor elephants suffered. They died. But one of the reasons that this book won Travel Book of the Year award, not just because it's an amazingly well-written book, an amazing story, is the maps that were in it. So that was great. And we have a Children's Travel Book of the Year award, and that also was commended by the judges in having, great maps in it. So just being able to share with young people, these are the sort of products that we sell, and understanding geography and mapping is an integral part of the creation of these really interesting products. The other thing that I'm going to redouble my efforts on is supporting the Historic Towns Trust, who have a project for getting maps into schools, into classrooms, and that we're going to help them by sort of posting these things, getting them out there, because they don't really have a sort of logistics hub, so we can help. An idea that came to me very strongly at this meeting was somebody talked about mapping in Minecraft. Who was that? I can't remember. Yes, mapping in Minecraft. So I thought, yes, yeah, absolutely. Let's try and how do we figure out, my nephew actually writes games. So I'm going to talk to him and say, okay, Lindsay, how can we get more maps into games for young people to sort of get them involved? So I think that was quite inspirational today, gave me an idea. And somebody else, I'm looking at you over there, mentioned that what you would do as soon as you left here was make a video. I thought, yes, one of the tasks that the interns are going to do while they're at Stanfords is they're going to make videos about individual products. Now, why is that important? Well, we all know with SEO, optimization, what have you, the more video content you can have on your website, your commercial website in particular, is really important. So I'm thinking, yes, a video speaks 1,000 words. That's something that we in the geographic and mapping community, making videos, sharing those with people, sharing the beauty of what we do, is really, really important. So that's kind of my first takeaway bucket, which is what can I do to really engage more young people in geography and mapping after I leave this great meeting. The second sort of bucket are, what are some of the messages that I wrote down that I can use when I'm, out there, with not just with young people, but with people in general. Maps are inspirational. They can be digital maps, they can be printed maps, they can be, somebody talked about maps on carpets being put in schools. Was this in Germany? I think it was. Maps on carpet. They're inspirational. Maps drive curiosity. Again, it could be a map on your phone. It doesn't have to be a printed map, but every type of map, I think, helps drive curiosity, and that's a really, really important message. And that ties into the fact that mapping is important for loads of different subjects, not just geography. Mapping is really important for history. I was listening to Radio 4 this morning on Farming Today. There was a little segment about the Enclosure Act, and the interviewer was talking to a farmer about, oh, look, here's a map from 1746 or something. It shows you how before enclosure, it was all strips of farmland. And I was thinking, yeah, and there they are. They're talking about this ancient map, and it's informing them about the history of this particular area, which I think was in Leicestershire. So mapping's important for history, environmental studies, climate studies, so many different subjects that we need to convey to the world out there that mapping is important for the learning of those different subjects. Maps can connect you to your community, and it was really interesting hearing about what's going on in Milton Keynes and the mapping there and how maps connect people in that community and how people are being asked to contribute to the maps of their community. I thought that was wonderful. You know, how else can we do that? I'm a trustee of the Seven Dials Trust in the part of London where Stanfords is located, and we try really, really hard to get the local community to contribute little features to maps of that area. But I think any of us, whether it's the town that we live in or the village or the campus that we work on or, you know, wherever it is, getting people who are not naturally geographers or cartographers to contribute to maps helps them understand the importance of geography and mapping, but it also makes them feel more connected to their community. So I think that's really, really important. So those are a whole series of messages that I took away from today's discussions. The last point I'll make, I think, has been made by both the previous speakers, and I feel quite passionate about this. We've got to make sure that our enthusiasm and our messages are consistent across all the geospatial organisations that are represented here and outside this room. So whether you're part of BCS or IMIA or RGS or AGI or whoever, you know, what is it, Nick? Fragmented, we will fail, but you know, if we work collectively, we'll storm the hill. We've got to make sure that we agree on the messages. It's not going to be really, really helpful if you know, the organisation I'm mostly involved with, IMIA, is trying to deliver messages that are different than BCS. That is not going to be helpful. So any opportunities we have to have events together, and BCS and IMIA are working really, really hard to have events together, I think it is going to make sure that our messages are consistent and are delivered in a similar way, so that we can, you know, bottom line, my takeaway is, how do I engage more people, especially young people, in geography and mapping? Thank you.